And welcome to this episode of The Fast Lane. In this episode, we sit down with Chris Korfist and Dan Fichter and discuss thoughts, ideas, and questions from the most recent track and football consortium held at Elmhurst University in Chicago, Illinois. Listeners are hopefully familiar with TFC, and if not, by the end of this episode, you will be ready to attend the next one. Chris has already sneak peeked his topic for next year. By the way, we are all very excited. Don't forget to go back and listen to our previous episodes, take notes, and send us questions. We love the questions. Now, speaking of questions.
Wait, what's my sneak peek one? I didn't know I had one.
You mentioned something while Dan was presenting, and you said, and that I will be talking about in 2026. So you have to.
What was it?
Why don't you go back and watch the video?
Yeah, that's
I already doing that.
It's the Easter egg. You have to scroll through Dan's presentations and listen for it faintly in the background.
Yeah.
Was it how to get dog vomit out of the carpet? That's always a good topic for me.
How to steal baby? How to steal baby
Jesus from the?
How to get away with it?
How to pick up dog poop with one plastic bag? I'm good at that too.
I believe it. And we'll keep the show rolling here. Speaking of questions, Dan,
yes,
you have been to Chicago many times now.
Deep dish.
All right. That was
out of the gate. Deep dish.
Yeah.
You know how many times we had deep dish this weekend? We had it twice.
Wow. All right. Well, the question was,
each time we got it, we got one more pizza.
Dan ate 2 deep dish pizzas Saturday night.
Yeah.
After we got kicked out of a restaurant.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, what's your question, Chris? Sorry.
This lady put her hands on me.
Whoa.
We walked into a private party, and I didn't know. I didn't read the sign on the door. I've eaten at this place 1,000 times. And we walked in, and this lady, Dan, would you say charged me? Or
yeah, she was coming in hot.
She came in hot and said, put her hands close to me. I don't know if she actually grabbed me. Dan said she grabbed me. I couldn't tell. I was shocked. Are you here for the private party? I felt like I was on Transformers. Are you ladies man 2312? That's what I felt like. I didn't know what to do. Dan's looking at me like, I don't know. Then a waitress came up and said, oh, there's a private party night. So I didn't know I'd get assaulted because we walked in. Dan had a good comeback, though. We said, oh, we're here. We're the entertainment. We're the dancers this evening.
Oh, perfect.
She didn't like that one either.
All right. Well, so my question was, if you're going to
this poor guy
recommend,
okay.
No, this all fits together.
Okay.
If someone's coming to Chicago for the first time, are you going to recommend they get the Italian beef or the deep dish? It sounds like deep dish is your answer.
Hold on a minute. Time out. So if you're coming for the very first time, I think you got to go with the beef.
Okay.
Because most people know deep dish Chicago pizza, and I think not enough people know about the beef, right? So if you go beef the first time, then you can always come back in previous times with, with the deep dish. Yeah.
Going with deep dish?
Yeah.
You know, the crazy thing is, the only time I eat deep dish pizza is when Dan comes. Otherwise, I eat the other kind of pizza, which is thin crust.
Mm-hmm.
The deep dish takes too long to make.
Yeah, it's an hour.
Yes, it does.
Process.
It does.
It is a process.
Yeah.
Now, going off of your story, Chris, was the private party you attended a quinceañera by any chance?
I have no idea. We were pushed out so quickly. I had no idea, no chance to assess the situation and figure out. I just know there were 2 tables, probably 50 women in there.
It was shady.
All right.
And then I'm thinking, maybe we could have been the dance group.
Yeah,
hello, ladies.
Just got to keep playing it. Keep playing it.
It's the only time I've ever been to a quinceañera was at a TFC. Ross Garner and I can't remember if it was in Texas or Chicago. We were heading to the sauna at the hotel, and there was no hallway between the ballroom and the sauna and the pool area. And we walked right smack in the middle of the quinceañera, where the little girl's full on in a song and the dress is the whole thing. So Ross, I know you'll be listening. That's a good memory to have. All right, into some fan questions now here, boys. And by the way, I was saying this to Chris, Dan. I don't know if you had it as well, but had a lot of people at TFC coming up and talking highly about the podcast. Just really appreciating you and Chris and all the years of experience and wisdom that you guys are sharing on here. So thank you for taking the time out of your nights to record here.
I actually took more, like, I had more pictures taken. Like, that was interesting. Like, pictures. Hey, yeah, it was good.
Wait, what do you mean pictures?
I can't tell you everything, but no. There's people coming up and say, can we get a picture with you?
Yeah, I had nobody do that.
Oh, well, should have stayed in my presentation.
Yeah. Next year.
I had cameras to run.
Yeah.
Which I had 2 were the memory cards. Long story short, I won't get into it. They filled up really fast because of Cal. That's all I'll say.
They were 1.21 gigawatts.
You'll get them next year, Chris.
Yeah. Well, he's coming next year, he said.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
All right. We'll see how the hockey schedule treats him there.
Well, I didn't ask him. He just said, I'm coming.
Okay.
I can't wait. It'll be a great weekend then. All right. So first question is coming off of X. Bill, I hope I say this last name properly. Bill Pogel at Bill Pogel 1973. He's a social studies teacher and strength conditioning coach. So right up your alley, Chris.
And he's from New York. He's right. He actually went to the high school that I coach at.
Oh, no way.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Bill's
yeah.
the man.
I was on the airplane with him back home.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
Man.
Perfect. Yeah. No, I agree. A frequent TFC attender. So
yes.
For you here, Dan, how to integrate vision into workouts, right?
Yeah.
So frequently you're going to talk about that. He wants to know specifically eye saccades, VOR, if you could explain what VOR is.
Yeah.
And then I really, really love, not to toot his horn here, what Chris did in his presentation for upper body, like levels, right? So if you could kind of just give us an idea, Dan, how to integrate vision work into workouts, and then maybe some levels too of like, if you need to start here, and then this is the Porsche, this is the Lamborghini of it.
So this morning, we had the football team in doing our first speed workouts in the morning in the gym. And the first thing I start with are VORs, vestibular ocular reflex, which is your head moving while your eyes are fixated on a target, right? So we call them no, no, no's or yes, yes, yeses, right? And what we'll do is we'll integrate walking into VORs, staring at my thumb, and we'll do the yes, yes, and no, no's. We had every kid do that, and no kid has done it before in that speed session. That was day one. So we integrated that into our warm-up where we're walking back and forth down the gym, just getting that part of the vestibular ocular reflex going. I do believe that is the first component in eye exercises, and then we want to move to smooth pursuits. And then, of course, vergence is very important. But VORs is where we start, and that is the best way to implement it, is get it going early in the warm-up where you link gait to it. Because a lot of times we lose our balance or our visual system becomes an issue during movement, right? So that's one way to practice the baselines of it.
And so if somebody doesn't have a lot of space, could they be doing these in a split stance position stationary, or would you prefer marching? What do you think?
Single leg. I would start in a Romberg's position with the feet like this. Okay. I would go one leg. I would be in different positions. You'll see in our in-season stuff, we will do VORs in different positions isometrically, whether we're doing a skater lunge, whatever it might be.
Awesome.
I went to college with Tommy Romberg.
Nice.
Seems like an Illinois guy to me.
He's an Iowa guy from
Dubuque.
Oh,
those
okay.
Iowans.
All right. So this one coming from Instagram seems like a burner account. It's kind of a mystery man. It's Smackdown, but starts with a C. So at C Smackdown. Dan, for all the things you're doing in the weight room, how much barbell work we're going to call it regular concentric lifting. You go down, you come up. Do you do with your high school football kids, right? How much throughout a workout, throughout a week, how much regular work? And we'll have some kind of follow up there as well.
Okay, so if we're doing so right now in our off season, we do a lot of down and up squatting to start, but we really start positionally with isometrics. And then if you were at the presentation and you heard me talk about the hover deadlift, we use that constantly. And we're doing it 3 days a week. We're lifting 3 days a week, and we'll lift pretty heavy, but they're not always concentric based lifts. I'm going to be honest with you. We spend very little time going down and up, although we do it. But if we're going to do it, I'm going to add a reactive component to it and a heavier eccentric or a faster eccentric or a slower eccentric before we come up with one rep. Because the coming up part to me is just a byproduct of what you got going down.
Yeah, it starts the next rep.
Yeah. So.
All right. Accordingly with that, and both of you guys can chime in on this one. All right. Does that shift then if you have a child or a high schooler that is looking to gain muscle?
I'll tell you what, when you train the nervous system correctly, you'll put on muscle or you'll lose fat, depending on what the body needs to propel itself. I've seen it happen before. When we've done all isometrics, I had a 315-pound offensive tackle working next to a 105-pound softball pitcher. And it's crazy. They did virtually the same stuff. One lost weight and body fat. The other gained muscle, right? All what they needed to do for what they're trying to do. So, do I lift just for hypertrophy? No, I think it just happens.
From muscle damage. People forget that the most anabolic thing you can do is eat. Your muscle size is directly proportional to the calories that you bring in, the protein that you bring in, to a certain extent.
And the timing of it. Like we're telling our kids when to eat, right? Not just what you got to eat.
All right. And then later on, he kind of wants to get into, does any of that change for track kids, specifically the 60 or the 100? But I feel like you guys answered that one pretty well.
Yeah, don't gain weight.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
I talked about that at TFC. Your elite sprinters, most of them are between 145 and 160 pounds, even though they're 6 feet tall.
It's force per average body weight. It's simple.
Yeah. It's watts per kilogram, not just watts.
Right.
When we're profiling. All right, this is an interesting one. I might have to explain it a little bit further. From Instagram, Dr. Ray Cooley wants to know if you guys have seen any of the Landmine University lifts, or do you kind of think about or incorporate any landmine training? So that's where the barbell's stuck in something and you're moving just one end, or it's in the corner. You might have a tennis ball on the end there or something. So any familiarity with Landmine University, or just any familiarity with landmine-based lifts and thoughts there?
Chris, you want to go first?
It's moving. There's a rotational element to it. It's kind of like the next step from the ground-based, the hammer strength ground-based jammer type stuff. Now there's a rotation to it, but there's going to be a shortcoming to it too, because you can only work in this arc here. But it's fine. It's great. Depends on how you use it. Just like any exercise, it depends on how you use it and what your goals are. If that's all you got and you're limited to that, then it's phenomenal. And that's everything that you do. It's what's the purpose of this? What are you trying to accomplish here? Or are you doing it because it's a cool Instagram thing that you saw and you've got 20 bars laying around and it's an easy way to get people through a workout. It's getting down to logistics and it's getting down to what your goals are. And I think that's really the goal, as I said, for every exercise is, what is your goal? What are you trying to accomplish with this exercise?
Yeah, for me, I have not seen the Landmine University. However, if there is, we do have a couple in our weight room at the high school, and we do use them. And if I use them, I'm going to use them how I think movement should be done, which is reactive in nature. We're going to drop and catch shit all the time. So we drop and catch that stuff. We'll put it by the next to the bench press. We'll throw it up and catch it, because now I'm working on my coordination of when I catch it, how I catch it. So yes, I also saw a presentation by a guy when I was speaking in Alabama, a guy who uses a landmine system, and when you get in the right position, it's stressless on your joints. It was fantastic motion that's grooving. And I wish I could tell you his name or what product he sold, but it was fantastic. I really loved it. But anyways, yes, I do use the landmine sometimes. Sometimes.
Okay. Great. No, I appreciate that. All right. My X account reset the messages. So if you messaged me on X, I had to sign in and give a PIN code and stuff. So if your questions got lost, I apologize. Ask them for our next episode. I'll make sure I get to them. All right. So this episode, again, we are trying to recap the 2025 TFC. So I'll kind of ask some what I would assume general-ish questions, and then selfishly, I'm going to throw a lot in there for myself here, get a little bit more bang for my buck from Chris and Dan. But what I want to know first, guys, is when you speak at a TFC, what are you hoping to learn yourselves? Right? You guys are always hungry for learning and knowledge and being challenged and challenging other people, thinking critically. You're speaking at a TFC. Obviously, you're a presenter there, but when you walk in as well, what are you hoping to learn yourselves? Whoever wants to go first there.
I'll go first. Is that all right?
Sure.
All right.
Please.
So the first thing that I think about is Chris and I spend probably, I don't know, 2 or 3 times a week just chatting, right? And like he said at his presentation, we don't talk much about training. We just talk about life. So when I get there, I'm really interested to see where he's gone with his training since the last time we've gotten together. And what we always find out is we're ending up at the same damn spot that we're getting to separately when we're best of friends. So it's pretty neat to bounce those ideas off somebody going, yeah, I was doing that too. Or yeah, I connected that dot. So then I enjoy listening to his presentations because then it just brings it to life. So that's one. Number 2 is I like to pop around and listen to other people speak, just because if there's a way of teaching something that I don't have the vernacular or the verbiage to teach it, then I just learned a different way to do it. Like Kula's presentation, right? All those drills, I don't think they were revolutionary. Like, I don't think they were different, but the way he explained them, I kind of like it, right?
Yeah.
So
His packaging was very good.
Yeah, so you take a look and you learn like that, because we're all teachers, but we all have to keep learning how to teach, right? So I think that was great. I love listening to Tony Villani speak, and just having him go through his whole belief system on game speed and all that stuff, which has really influenced a lot of what I do moving forward. So it's fun to listen to everybody speak. Yeah, so I learn a lot.
Yeah, I really like what you said on lessons on how to teach. Just can I communicate my stuff more effectively?
Yep.
That's absolutely true. And what I say to a lot of
there's
people,
only so many exercises there are, right? There's only so many ways your body can move. And really, in order to get that through to your athletes, it's what's going to be the best way to communicate that to them so you get the results that you're looking for, and to hear other people who have different backgrounds, different whatever, different environments come up with interesting ways to explain things, motivate their athletes to do the drill or exercise properly is always a huge benefit. I hate to sound this way, but I've been going to clinics for 30 years. There's not too many new things that I see out there, but the presentation of explaining new things, that's what's really great.
Yeah. No, I like that. I tell everyone the differences between TFCs and other conferences is mostly everybody there is a teacher first, right? The delivery that you guys have, the delivery that Tony Holler has, comes from combined 60 plus years of teaching in a high school setting, trying to get kids who don't want to be there to pay attention to what you're saying. You really have refined your craft. So I would encourage anyone, you could always talk to coaches, but talking to a teacher who coaches, you're going to learn a lot more. They're going to communicate a lot more effectively. So along the lines of TFC for you guys this year, or it could kind of just be any year, I guess, but are there any memorable questions from in between presentations or sessions or during lunch that got you thinking this year? Anybody bring something up or anybody ask something where you're like, oh, shoot, I need to explain that better next time?
Chris, I think some of the questions you ask lead to more thought around an idea, right? So you asked me something in the middle of the presentation. I can't remember what it was, but I'm like, yeah, I never thought of it like that. But yes, you could do that. And that's awesome when you have the crowd participate like that, right? Because
yeah.
it gets
It makes you
everybody
think.
thinking, yeah. And we don't know it all. We might,
We don't know anything.
right. We don't know it all. It's like we're still learning too. So sometimes asking the right questions get different answers. And you're like, okay, yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, I would agree. It's the dialogue that you get. And everyone's so open there to share what their ideas are. And again, that's what you get when you have teachers,
Yes.
is you're used to that. I mean, that happens to you 5 periods a day, that someone's going to ask you a question or challenge you or need you to explain things. And you've got to be fast on your feet. And a lot of times what comes out is usually what you really feel. But then again, you walk away and you're like, I need to think, maybe I need to look down this further, and this is worth doing a deeper dive into.
Okay. Now, one of the presentations that got me thinking right out of the gate was Tony Villani's when he put up the screen and graph of the kill zone, right? The zebra is going to outrun the lion, but there's that small area of time where the lion will be able to catch the zebra. In other words, you have to have acceleration in team sport and football, specifically, as he was talking about. So, are there any considerations or differences as you're training a track sprinter versus football or, let's say, basketball speed, right? So you guys have kind of shifted towards acceleration, which leans more towards team sport. But will you train acceleration with a track sprinter in the same way when they need that kind of, 50 to 100 meter closing speed or top speed or whatever you might call it, right? So you're training acceleration for your team sport athlete, for your sprinters. Do you feel, do you have any differences there?
Acceleration is acceleration. Where are you pushing and how well are you pushing? That's what it comes down to. The third step, it's all over by the third step. By the third step, it kind of sets up the rest of what's going to happen. And looking at all kinds of 1080 graph data, looking at elite athletes compared to, these are pretty good high school athletes and stuff like that. Usually on that second, third, fourth step, after you've cleared the barrier of the first step, it really sets up what you are or what you can do, because there's only going to be so much that you can accelerate at that point, because eventually you're going to have to stand up to balance. Again, velocity is a mode of balance. So the faster you come out, the longer you can accelerate, because it's that velocity that gives you that balance. But as soon as you feel you slow down, you feel the need to stand up, you're done. That's the best you're going to get. Then you got to hustle. And you can have a great fly 10 time, but if you're already 3 meters behind, very rarely are you going to run anyone down, if you haven't set it up already coming out of the gate.
I'll tell you what, one of the things that Tony Villani talked about that I think is the most profound thing with your team, or even with, even coming out of the blocks late, right? If you let somebody get a step on you, and you watch it, did you see the drill that he explained? I do this with my football team all the time. And no matter how many times I do it, even the younger kids that have seen it, they still stand in the wrong spot where they think it's going to be a tag. It never happens there. Acceleration is so powerful. Reaction to a stimulus is so powerful that it gives you the win. It gives you the win. Then you got a guy like, who's the receiver for the Vikings? Jamar Chase? No, he plays for Cincinnati. The other guy, he said, there's no
Justin Jefferson.
there's no 4-2 receivers in the Hall of Fame. I'm like, whoa, that makes sense. It's being able to come in and out of things. Now, when you're talking about a track guy, like today in track practice, indoor track practice, I had jumpers and sprinters go 5 yards into a 10-meter run, right? So it's not really a measure of maximum velocity. It's an acceleration indicator. But guess what? For a jumper, that's exactly what they do. They never get to maximum velocity. They get to a controlled velocity from a smooth acceleration. So we practice that. I want them to know exactly what that time correlates to in terms of compared to their miles per hour of their fly 10 with a 30-yard run up, because it's not the same going into a long jump board.
So following up on that, Dan, it could have been said here this past weekend at TFC, and I know I've heard it and read it in articles, max velocity is the best way to stimulate or strengthen your feet. If you're a long or a high jumper, you need to have strong, stiff feet. So how can you, and I know I've asked this question before in a previous episode, but like, how are you training that foot strength and stiffness if you're not hitting peak velocities?
Well, first of all, banded calf pops. I love banded calf pops. We're doing all kinds of tendon stuff like that. First of all, you got to build that platform with the spring model, the spring ankle, right? Chris, you're telling me my microphone's bad? You're killing us. Tell him, Chris.
Yeah,
You can tell him.
PSA for
blowing
everybody.
my nose. This cold jumped on me today. Couldn't believe it. I'm just sitting downstairs training people. All of a sudden, it just started flowing. Like, come on.
Oh, why don't you cry about it?
Yeah. For those listening, Chris is absolutely warrior battling through what could be a life-ending illness. So we're grateful to have him on
here. Do you know
here.
what this is?
The smallest violin, and I'm not complaining. I just had to blow my nose. Otherwise, it's going to come down my face. Now I got the dogs want to go outside. Everyone's giving me the look.
Might be a mute button you could hit before you hit that.
Where?
Maybe where
Did
it says
I wreck it?
Where it says mic. If you hit mic, might turn you off.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. So banded toe pops, Dan, did you tell them about what we did in the basement before TFC?
No, I don't want to disclose that information. No, go ahead.
So we were doing AMT jumps with the 1080 Quantum. And so what we did is we set it up that an AMT jump is a old DB Hammer, what did he call it? Amortization something.
No, it was oxymetronics.
Oxymetronics. So
or something
you're
like
getting
that.
pulled down hard, but when you reverse it, there's no weight. So you've stored the energy in the absorption. And then when you let go, you've got extra energy when you come out. So Dan and I used to do it that you put rubber bands around someone's shoulders. They step up onto a box and then they step off the box with this green rubber bands on them, slammed into the ground. The two spotters take their feet out of the rubber bands at the same time, hopefully. And then you have all that energy that you bounce back up and you jump with. And usually that's a phenomenal exercise to do 7 to 10 days out from your final competition. So for us, that'd be state or whatever it is. So what we did with the Quantum is we just had it pull you down super hard. And when you reversed it and jumped up, there's no weight. So it's like a better banded calf pop. Because with the banded calf pop, when you bounce up, there's still going to be stress. And it's harder to let that energy go because really sport is how much eccentric strength you have responded with how much you can let go. So a concentric unweighted movement previously dealt with in an eccentric movement. And a cyclical version of that. And that's what we replicated on the 1080 Quantum. I'm going to release the videos here when I edit them tomorrow after the clipper comes through.
There we go. And oxymetronics is correct, Dan. I just looked it up. Yeah.
You fact checked me. I love it.
Well, I just wanted to make sure you were right. We run a quality show here.
I don't even know if I'm right sometimes. That's great. I feel good about that.
Yeah,
Good.
not many
Alex?
people.
Alex, I'll take 8 tits for
Yeah.
800.
There you go. All right, so more along the lines here of forces.
All right, Dan, take this question. I got to go let the dogs out. They're
Okay.
making noises and stuff. I'll
Okay.
mute it this time.
Okay.
All right, there you go. It's gonna mute the whole show. We're gonna hear about it. All right, so Dan, you said in I think it was your first presentation.
Yep.
You have to handle forces, right? You have to handle forces. What are some of your go-tos for handling forces, and what did you mean by that?
Okay. So one of the things that we do is we drop and catch shit all the time, right? So when you have to handle forces that reactively that you can't prepare for or you are preparing for, all these things happen. Then you have to be able to balance. You got to do that on one leg. You got to be able to do that with a perturbation. You've got to be able to do that. Like acceleration from different positions in team sports is huge, is being able to find your angles, being able to find all these things that are going to propel you in the right direction instantaneously, right? So I think you have to be able to navigate all those different vectors, all those different forces coming in to be able to absorb them, to be able to repel into performance. So yeah, we'll do, we used to do where we're accelerating, picking a medicine ball up. So that changes where your center of mass is. Then we'd run for a few steps. Then we'd throw it. So we have to separate upper body and lower body, but you still have to get it over a certain target to be able to project it that far. And then all these things are changing the whole dynamics of where you're absorbing force, creating force, stabilizing force. Always things coming in that you have to manage. That's sport.
And that kind of goes to your Revolutions in Speed 1 collision training.
Yeah, I mean,
there as well.
It does, but now you're like, if you notice in some of our in-season stuff, we were doing one-legged hops. I always say put your landing gear in front with the other leg, right? Landing gear is always in front of the grounded foot. And then we added visual training to that to stiffen the tendons, because that's working on your depth perception, your vergence. All these things set the tone for when you're going to hit the ground. And if there's more co-contraction, stiffer tendon, right? So we're just adding a different sensory loop back to it to get a different result.
Love that. Do you feel like you are the popularizer, inventor? Do you take credit for altitude drops, people that step off of boxes and land?
No. Jay Schroeder. Well, first of all, there were people long before doing altitude drops and everything like that. So, I mean, maybe from an equation standpoint of realizing the forces you are capable of absorbing, like the most powerful thing is when you sprint, you create 8 times your body weight. What the hell is the weight room going to do for you? In a fraction of a second. So you have to be able to meet the equation with training that's real. The only way you can do that is with altitude drops.
How fast can you be strong?
There you go. And then for more kind of follow up there, Dan, you and Matt Van Dyke wrote an article about this, and I believe it's on the website Sportsmith. So people can kind of give that a Google and just see the forces he's talking about on a stiff landing off of a box. Speaking of stiff here, we're now going to change it to the word sniff. I want to know for both of you, it seems like every year you're researching new, you're finding new, you're creating new. What is your sniff test, right? What do you go through looking at something going like, okay, I think this is good, I'm going to add it in or not, right? How do you choose to add things in? Second part to that is then how do you possibly add things in to what already seems so jam-packed, right? The number one question people ask about you, Dan, is how does he do it all, right? Biggest question for people asking you, Chris, is like, he keeps coming up with this new and new and new. So what's your sniff test? And then where are you finding room to throw these things in? Chris, we'll start with you.
I kind of go with the Keith Richards concept. They interviewed him and they asked him why he's got a 5-string guitar and why he plays a 5-string guitar instead of a 6. And he goes, well, if you keep adding stuff, you're really just at the beginning. Good point, right? So I just solve problems, things that I think are problems, things that are not getting you to the line faster. So I'm going to prioritize what I think are the best, and that's your dose. So if I got to get rid of stuff that I really like because it's fun to do and I've got all this equipment, well, that's not my goal. My goal is to get someone there. And so why did I talk about upper body this time? Because I'm starting to see now that I understand the upper body after 30 years. You start to see it more and more, and you're like, wow, I really missed that. And now you're starting to find out, well, really, the upper body has a huge role to play in sprinting. And that it's transferring the energy from your upper to lower body. It's controlling your pelvis. It's controlling your rib cage. It has a huge impact on what your hamstrings do. And now we're finding out even what your feet do. I need to look at that. I can't just discount that because I've discounted it for the last 30 years. So based on new things that you learn and problems that you see, and you go, wow, that doesn't look right. Let me look at this kid. Look at this doesn't look right. Then I showed everyone that video montage of all those people sprinting. It's like, well, that's what right is. Why do I say that? Well, there's 30 of the best sprinters in the world all doing the exact same thing. So now I need to figure out why isn't my kid doing that? And then you go through with RPR and you can do all your muscle tests and strength tests and exercises and things like that. You go, that could be a hole. Maybe that's something I need to work on. And then you give it a shot and then you watch them run or you test them or whatever. You go, I'm going somewhere. This is something for this kid, but maybe not for that kid. So really you have to have a pretty focused goal of what you want to do, and you kind of put everything aside, whether you like it or not, or what you base yourself on, like I'm a squat guy or I'm a clean guy or all that. It's, hey, how can I get this kid faster guy? And, and I showed videos of like a hip dominant runner compared to a foot dominant runner. I can't do the same drills for both kids and expect them to get better. I've got to apply what I know based on, in my opinion, the limited knowledge I know on watching people run, and do the best that I can and make adjustments based on what's going on. That's what's hard about online assessment or online workouts. And people want to, can you train me online? No, because I can't see you. I can't hear you. I can't see data. I need to have that full immersion in what you're doing in order to make better decisions. I can't watch one video from here or there and expect, sometimes I get it right, but I want to be right every time because most people don't have a lot of workouts. Like this coming up track season, I think I've got 63 workouts that I got to get 4 to 6 guys really fast. It's really not a lot of time. We'll have a few snow days in there and whatever bullshit gets thrown at us, but it's not a lot of time. So I don't have time to waste screwing around with something or, whatever.
I want to go back to something you said in there, Chris, about training the upper body. If your upper body fatigues out, your feet start to unravel, something like that. Can you kind of just real quick?
Yeah, that was some research that came out this year where they tested, wasn't so much their upper body, but it was their obliques and their scapula. And they found that once those started to fatigue out and couldn't control those body parts, that the rest of the body just let the feet go limp and you lost all the springiness of your feet.
All right.
So you have to have that endurance all throughout your body in order to make sure that you're okay for however long your event is, which in soccer it's hours, or cricket it's days, or or in a 100-meter dash it's hopefully a little less than 11 seconds. But you will fatigue. And that's really what happens. It comes down to at the end is who's fatiguing and who's not.
We will touch on, or we're going to call it anti-fatiguing later on in our questions here. But Dan, how about you? What's your sniff test and how do you decide when, where, how to add things in?
Well, if you look at my presentation, I put up the Mount Rushmore. I put up different places I've been to study. So you study systems, and every system isn't perfect. They have gaps. So you're always looking at filling gaps. So I think at this point, because I've got more years behind me than I have ahead of me in terms of learning this game. I think that I've been able to.
Oh, don't say that. No.
I think I've learned to spend my time connecting dots, because all the people that I've learned from, including Chris, including you, there's always going to be connections you can find. So just let's take speed, for example. We're all chasing this, but do we see speed? Do we hear speed? Do we feel it? Do we predict it? And can we do it without seeing it? Right? So those are all different ways that you can train somebody just by interpreting the word speed. Like we did stuff based off of sound, right, at TFC. And everybody's like, whoa, because they never heard it before. Well, then I want you to hear it. Then I want you to feel what it feels like. Maybe that's overspeed. And when you start to dissect all these different ways, then you go, I just found a new way. Like even isometrics, from a brain standpoint, we've looked at it from, the neural drive, or we've looked at it from rate coding or the synchronization, all that stuff we've always talked about. But are we looking at it from cerebellum prediction? Are we looking at sensory maps? Are we looking at it that way? It turns over a whole new level of training. So I think you kind of reinvent it based off the same fundamental concepts. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just, note for everyone out there, never stop learning.
Yeah.
Always keep connecting dots, always keep finding what else is there to help this athlete, right? All kids are going to be different. This one might need something a little bit more than somebody else. Talking about testing strength, Dan, you mentioned that toe flexor strength may be a better monitor of age, right? Everyone knows how important grip is. You've been studying falling a lot in terms of acceleration with the end goal there.
That's because he's getting old and he falls.
No, I used to fall a lot when I was a kid. That was one of my other things is if you were fast, odds are you tripped and fell a lot when you were a kid, because you're constantly out in front of yourself tripping. And then all of a sudden your feet catch up to you and you're fast. Yeah. And anyways, so yes, I've been studying a lot about falling, how to catch yourself, what muscles turn on to prevent you from falling. Because if you think about it, this is acceleration right before the verge of falling. And if you stop falling, you're not accelerating. Chris just said that. So why not we practice that? Why don't we measure it? Do you have an ability to fall? Do you understand how to fall? Is your vestibular system robust enough to fall? And there you have it. Now we're training a component of sprint that you can't see.
And so I guess you kind of answered it there. Are you testing this in any other way besides timing a sprint or having a broad jump? Do you measure this like ability to fall or toe flexor strength at all?
Yeah, I was going to get out my thing. I have a toe flexor. It measures how much force you can put into a little pad.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. And then you can take a look at the eye test of what are your toes doing when you are falling forward. Are they engaged? Chris talked about all this stuff years ago, right? Again, we're just connecting more dots. That's all. Now I'm going to falling instead of what are they doing sprinting? We all know the big toe propels us, all that stuff. But when it comes to keeping you upright and not letting your noggin hit the ground, it becomes even more important in acceleration.
Have you measured, or is there anything that's getting you thinking on your 1080 quantum there, Chris, for how to kind of test or measure toe flexor strength? And then for those that are listening and not viewing the recording, Chris just had to step away, most likely to get his dogs. But Dan, do you know the name of that product for you? The toe flexor pad?
Yeah, hold on. Let me get it.
Yeah.
So Chris, you keep talking.
Yeah. So what was your question? I got a coyote problem. They're sitting outside talking trash to my dogs. My dogs are going nuts. So I think it's dealt with now.
Do you need to address that?
I did.
Okay.
I let the dogs out and they chase them away.
Oh, perfect. Okay. All right. So on your 1080 quantum, are you measuring toe flexor strength or anything at all? Or does that kind of go with your heel flick?
Is that's hard to do in a really, really, really small motion, because really it's a really small motion. So isokinetically, I have to set it all the way down to like 0.05 meters a second, the slowest setting to actually get it to grab.
Would
And
you?
when I go heavier, there's a little slack in there, so I don't think it's real accurate because it's such a small motion. So I'll add some knee bend into that. But no, I haven't really measured it. To me, it's at this point, we're about repping out. We're trying to get 30, 40, 50 reps at a heavy weight. And then you flip around and you're going to do the anterior portion of your calves and do some toe ups with your butt against the wall so your knees can't bend in and cheat your way through the range of motion. And so we'll go back and forth on that. And then we'll do some toe pops on the 1080 sprint with a break on it at about 0.08 or 0.8 meters a second. So when you pop, you get slowed down and you've got to accelerate through. So it's basically like a shred mill, but you're actually moving instead of on a ramp or
an inclined treadmill.
An inclined
Okay.
treadmill.
So with this year's TFC, I was sitting there going like, oh man, I have to recoach or relearn how to coach all the drills that I've kind of stolen from you. And what I mean by that is your lower body sprint presentation was not just that there needs to be a hip hike, but also a hip hike and forward rotation.
Yeah.
So anyone could Google, anyone could YouTube right now your classic hip hike with a Swiss ball or
I think that's a great exercise for your really basic runners, especially distance runners.
Mm-hmm.
But with sprinters, there's going to be a lot more hip movement involved. So you'll progress to that, and that's why I showed that Yuri type movement where there's going to be a hip rotation, and you're going to try to get your hip out in front over your opposite knee that's rotating in.
Yeah.
Which is, again, why I showed that video at the beginning of all those runners, and that was one of the two things that every one of those elite sprinters exhibited was that internal rotation of both the knee on the ground and the swing leg hip. And then you follow back and you look at research in the last 2 years, and now they're saying, well, that's your stride length, is your ability to rotate your hips through. Not that you over exaggerate it, because then you're going to be in the air too long and on the ground too long, but there's going to be a moment that you've got to bring that around. So it's a timing issue.
Okay, so you're still, for your beginners, still keeping with that classic hip hike that you posted from 5, 6, whatever years ago.
Yeah,
but
everyone
now,
does that.
But now there's just a progression to it. Once you're good there, hey, we're moving on because we need to work on that internal rotation of the hip as it's swinging through. Okay, that's good to know that I don't have to completely redo and rethink everything. So I think this is something that you both kind of hit on in all of your presentations there. Different speeds work different muscles differently, right? Different speeds work different muscles differently. You can't just train super slow, and you can't just train as fast as possible. You need to kind of hit it all. Is that right? And then can you make sense of, does that really make sense from the barbell world when you're prescribing different percentages and essentially you're moving a bar at different speeds, right? Can you kind of just connect some of those dots there of the statement of like different speeds work different muscles differently? Can't just train as slow as possible or as fast as possible. And then did the barbell world have it right with percentages and different speeds and moving the bar?
There's a lot there.
We got plenty of time. I got nothing.
There's football on. What do you mean you got nothing? There's football on.
Nobody's playing tonight. Come on.
Stop it.
As much as you want to give,
probably
Chris.
over already.
Oh.
As much as you want to give.
I don't even know who the Falcons quarterback is anymore. Or are they just running Wildcat every play?
I'm going to tell you this. I think you need to train all different types of speeds. You know what I'm getting into now? Predicting your fly 10 meter, predicting your acceleration time. So now you know exactly what it is and you figure out what percentage you're running at. I'm so sick of kids telling me I'm running 50% and they look like they're walking, right? I want them to understand every aspect of speed. In and out, slow, fast, percentages. I'm going to tell you, when I was really fast, I could tell you exactly what I'd run based off of how many warm-up runs I had, who was on the watch timing me. I could tell you everything because I knew that race inside and out. So I could tell when I ran for the New York Jets, I'll never forget this. Pete Carroll was out there. And when I finished, I said I ran 4.2. I knew exactly what I ran. And these are handheld times, so people, of course, are going to make mistakes. But I could yell at somebody who was timing me and tell you missed that, or you were too fast there, or too slow. I think you need to know it. And I never really thought how important that was, but it is. It's important. Sorry, I just fell off my soapbox.
Yeah, I don't even know what question you answered there.
Yeah, I did. Because speed, all different types
Training
of
at
speed
different speeds.
are
Yeah.
important. So there.
So why are you yelling at Pete Carroll about that?
You're a bully. You're a bully. Just as you got sniffles, little potty pants. Come on.
Look at how much.
Oh,
Look at all my
Jesus.
tissue paper.
Hey, so back to your scap comment, right? So you're talking about the stability in the scap and dictating the fatigue. How about Jay Schroeder doing that in one of his isometrics 30 years ago? You know what I mean? That stuff's legit, and we just figured out now they come out with a research article to prove that. That's pretty neat.
Well, that was his dip, that was his chin, and that was his push-up. It was all scapula control.
He didn't know that. He took a hell of a guess. But now we got the research.
Maybe.
Yeah.
And here's the crazy thing. There's not a lot of research out there about upper body training. There is not at all. I mean, you've got to look at javelin throwers and, even punching, there's not a lot. I was trying to do something, trying to correlate hand speed with leg speed for the guy, for the one Instagram video where I saw your arms control your legs. You just stand there and pump your arms really hard. Yeah, that's not true for a lot of reasons. But because then they start talking about drummers and how fast you can get a drummer to go. And the correlations are nothing like what people actually think based on the research. And again, the research can be limited too. We always forget that. And I use research a lot. I love to use research, but that's limited too, as far as what they can test and what they're looking for. I've been on that end. I've helped write papers. I'm on papers. So I've seen what that process is. And you realize it's not the be-all, end-all as well, although it does help.
And you also have, from people studying people who cannot move their lower body, we do know that there's reflex arcs and there are central pattern generators that when you start moving your upper body, your lower body kind of flicks and clicks and reacts, right? So we do know there's reflex arcs in there. And sometimes that's how you can kickstart gait, but it's certainly not driving it, right? But that just shows you how, back to my thing, everything's neural. Everything's neural. Look up central pattern generators, Chris.
Right now?
No, the other Chris.
The other Chris.
CPGs, fact check me.
So there is research out there that, and it's recent, that shows that at different speeds, different muscles work. The faster you go, the more your bicep femoris does. It's not a good slow person exercise. And I believe the cutoff point that the researchers showed was 7 meters a second. That tended to be the break. Now, my question is about that is, does that mean that a fast person only running 7 meters a second is doing that? But what about the person who's as fast as 7 meters a second? Does that mean there are no bicep femoris involved in that? And then there's interesting research about the morphology between men and women and how they recruit different muscles to run really fast, which is really interesting because the hip structures are different. Maximal strength levels are different. That was a big one. I mean, it kind of a Captain Obvious research paper that came out and said, hey, men run faster than girls just because they have more maximal strength, especially in plantar flexion. So could that mean that for girls, you need to do a lot more plantar flexion strength? Could be, but girls also use a lot more adductor magnus to run fast than guys do. So with girls, are you using more adductor magnus? And you start doing some heavier adductor magnus exercises.
Well, that sounds great for women's hockey. I'm all over it.
Yeah.
I'm going to start crushing that. So Chris, you had great presentations on upper body training. And in the past, let's just say year, 2 years, you've had a lot of lower body training where you're pulling bands, right? We're going to call them pull-throughs. So you're using your 1080, all the various settings it could have there. With bands, if that's what you're using for your lower and upper body exercises, are your pull-throughs, as we're going to word it, do you have concerns you're just strengthening incorrectly, right? There's not enough tension through the middle, right, as your limb is crossing your body, uh, and there's just more tension at the end. Any kind of like concerns there, and
Let's move
then
out
like
further. Find the place where you feel at that midpoint where you're feeling the most tension.
okay, and so that midpoint is really important to
Yeah,
make
the
sure you're
midpoint's
strengthening
really
that.
important. And that's one thing that we never train in the weight room is midpoint,
hmm Yeah,
crossing your
I
body.
agree. And so, how do you feel about a kind of just before, right at that midline, and kind of just past isometric as well, whether you're pulling against a chain or you're all the way out with a band?
I think everything has a role. Isometric can be something, but especially yeah, they all have their roles. I mean, you can do isometric, especially since in isometrics, it's really that, what is it, 15 degrees on either side of where you're pulling from, you're going to have carryover.
Mhm.
So that could work. So I guess depending on what you have, you can make it work. You just have to be clever.
Ah.
Dan, why are you breathing so heavy?
I was going to say the audio switched
That's
here
not
on.
me.
That's not me.
That's not me.
It probably isn't me here, boys. So, well, we'll figure it out on the back end. We won't worry about it right now. All right.
Jeez. Getting yelled at a lot.
I'm in a yelling mood.
You are.
It's the sickness. That's what's going on. So Chris, when you were doing your upper body presentation, I asked about grips. You were specifically using like a Sornex cylinder kind
Yeah.
of grip there, and my thought was, if you wanted to make your muscles as strong as possible, uh, y- the muscles around your scapula for stabilization, won't your strength be limited by your grip? Right.
Could be.
So, okay.
But then my response to you was, then maybe that's as strong as you are in that position.
Well, yeah. Yeah. And your body's
Maybe
just
after
saying
that
no.
point, if you can't grab it
Yeah.
anymore, you're cheating. You're creating compensation patterns that are above and beyond what your body can actually do. And
That's a good
therefore,
point.
long range, maybe you're creating a bad pattern in the weight room just to get bigger numbers.
And can you talk a bit about primitive grip and not using your bicep grip? Because often in every single pull, we are recruiting our bicep. How do
Yeah,
we
because people
prevent
grab
that?
like this.
Yeah.
They grab with like you're hanging onto a bar type thing.
Yeah, hanging to a pull-up bar.
Which is a primitive grip reflex, but that's the grip that you're climbing something, and you're going to instantly recruit bicep. And we've become so overdeveloped in our bicep and our pec major that it's changing the way we move. And then you just sit on your phone all day and on your computer all day, and you make it even worse. Whereas if we can change that grip and make it more of this long grip, like on the Sornex cylinder, I don't even know what the name of the product is. It's a great product. That eliminates your bicep because you can retract your scap for a longer period of time to make that the proximal mover, and the bicep just finishes rather than having your bicep grab and do everything.
Hmm.
Does
Okay.
that make sense?
Yeah. No, that does. That helps kind of clarify it. I believe the product you were using was the Mighty Mitts Fat Vertical Handle.
That might be it.
From Sornex.
They
The
make good stuff.
Mighty Mitts Fat Vertical Handle. I'm sure they're going to send us one for mentioning them here.
Yeah, right. It's just like the people who made the spring ankle machine that put my name on it, and I never got one.
Oh, no way.
So people ask me, what do you think of your machine, that Nasty Dog or whatever that place is called? I said, I don't know. I've never seen one. But they've got your name on it. They said you designed it. That might be, but I never got one. Doesn't change the fact that there's not one sitting in my basement.
Lost in the
And
mail.
I asked Cal, and Cal's like, oh, they shipped it. Well, it must be in the shipping black hole, because it's going to come out in some other dimension. Chris Korfist dimension Zurg received 4 or 5 spring ankle model things. based on his design. And you always know Cal gave him the information because the information's wrong. Like they spelled my name wrong and all that.
There you go.
Just like Dan's from Buffalo.
Yeah, I'm from
For
Buffalo.
Cal, Dan's from Buffalo.
Yeah.
So if you Google search Dan Fichter Buffalo, nothing comes up.
Right.
That's great.
Perfect.
All right. So last question that I have here, and this, this could be as long-winded or as short as we kind of want here, but we're talking a lot about posture and position always. We're talking about being able to get into good acceleration angles always. So when you're training posture muscles, I believe you mentioned this, Dan, those are different fibers, right? Posture muscles are different fibers. And Chris, you talked about you need 2 minutes of training those. So for your plank progression, 2 minutes, and then you can kind of move on. So for core work, does all core work need long duration?
Again, it depends on what your goal is. If you're looking to build a really good foundation for movement, I think it does. I think the fibers are different, and they respond to different stimulus. They're meant to stabilize for a long period of time, not for something really heavy. They're not designed to pick up large rocks and walk with them. We're designed to move large distances as safely as possible. So I think in order, and you can watch it in a race, watch a 100-meter dash or 200-meter dash, watch how many kids fall apart at the very end.
Mhm.
They didn't have the fatigue to hold their core in place. And I hate using that name, but I think the takeaway from Dan and I spending this time together was we both said, I used to not be a core person, but now I am. In fact, I fought hard against core for 20 years. Even though I took the, what's the guy's name who stood on the Swiss balls?
Oh, yeah, blew his knee out.
Paul Chek?
Paul Chek. I took all of his classes. My kids could squat on a Swiss ball too. Didn't make us any faster. But now I'm going back like, well, maybe this guy had something right. It's just
How about instead of saying core, we say hip alignment?
Yes, hip and rib alignment is a much better term.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Because you say core, everyone instantly thinks of your six-pack. Oh, I want a six-pack. I got to have a... you can tell a good athlete because they have a six-pack. I said, no, they don't eat crap food. That's how you get a six-pack. Everyone's got rectus muscles. They're all there. It's just most people have them in a cooler.
So one of the things in Matt Bolay's class that we took called motor patterns.
How do you say his name in not French?
Boulay?
How about
I don't know.
Boule?
Oh, Boule.
Is that his name in not French?
Maybe. Anyways, he was doing, there's a book out there called Rhythmic Movements That Heal. And all these exercises that you do from a primitive reflex standpoint that which are running through your core are all 2 to 5 minutes in length. Because not only is rhythm involved in it, you have a shit ton of red fibers that you have to get to, right? So you have to train for those periods of time.
Yeah. I had a slide that I didn't put in because the picture didn't turn out well, but at my friend Sean Allen's office, he has this phenomenal painting, which I think he did, which shows a guy from his side and he's got his arm up and it's got a proportional, not bodybuilding look of the lat versus the oblique. And when you see it, you realize the proportion from someone who's very athletic compared to this bodybuilding idea that we've got to have these huge slabs of meat for lats. And then you realize, I looked at that picture and I realized, what do we do for obliques? If you look at that, at that anatomy painting, which is beautiful, you realize just how much, where the obliques are and just what a huge muscle it is and how it wraps your body. And then you see the lat lay over it and you go, I think I got this wrong. Everyone said really good sprinters have really strong lats. That might be from jerking that arm back, but it could also be that those obliques are helping support the lats so you get a stronger lat for whatever your lat test is.
That's good. That's good. All right. Well, hey, fellas, that was the end of my questions here.
Yeah.
Did you guys have anything else you wanted to make sure you sort of hit on, or anything that's kind of sparking to hear in the final minutes?
No, I think TFC was a blast. If you haven't been there, get there. If you've been there, keep coming. It keeps getting more and more interesting.
I think we may need to find bigger spaces. And we had when we had the biggest crowd before for Carl Lewis, we were at a high school, and there were pre-made rooms that could hold 100, 150 people. We were jam-packed at the seams this time at every room that we were in.
Yes. It was a big
Unfortunately, on
crowd.
Saturday afternoon, everyone left to go watch the football games and in the afternoon sessions. But Friday and Saturday and early Saturday afternoon, it was tight. So that's great. It's great to see that we're reaching so many people. And I'm not saying our way is the right way. There's lots of people out there that do a lot of great things. And if you're getting results with what you're using for what you're measuring, that's awesome. Then maybe you need to come speak at TFC and tell us what you're doing. Because we all want to learn how to get better and see what other people are doing.
Yeah, I would agree. The gymnasium was good.
The gymnasium was good.
I could hold a good amount of people.
The blow-up screen was really cool.
Yeah, I agree.
I couldn't believe that they did that. And Elmhurst did a great job hosting it. Dave Stone did a great job hosting, making sure everything was in place.
Yeah,
and Simply Faster did a great job showing off their stuff.
Yeah,
Mark Hoover always does a great job, though.
Yeah, Mark and Bobby, they're the man.
Yeah.
I always appreciate the just willingness to give you honest answers about all the
Yes.
different products. When you go to simplyfaster.com, they have a huge list in the shop there. There are articles, there are videos, there are so many coaches that will give you their not only 2 cents, but this and this and this is what I like. This is, something that could be improved upon.
And the guys at Simply Faster are great about showing that. They,
Mm-hmm.
This is what we do with it. Everything's good, but this is what this is really good at.
Exactly. And
If
everyone's
this is
looking for something different.
If this is your environment, this is what you need. How do you know? Well, because I'm a coach and I've got this environment too.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
If you hear my dogs screaming, they're getting ready for coyote round number 2.
All right. Hold on that ensuing bloodbath. I think it's a good place to stop. So, fellas, thank you again. Recorded videos are available for Chris, Dan, as well as all the other presenters at Sellfy, SELLFY, sellfy.com/Corfist. And then you may follow.
Chris, I didn't get to see your presentation on me. I haven't watched it yet, but your presentation was really good because I think it's the first time a strength coach came out and said, I don't know how much I'm really helping here. We need to objectively look to see how can we actually help do these things. I think that was a really honest, straightforward presentation you gave that was really quite refreshing.
Well, I appreciate it. I talked to a hockey coach today about January, nothing to do with the weight room. Just how can they lay out the first couple days of practice as their better players are playing overseas in a tournament and with the guys that he has left over, right? Nothing about the weight room, just how can we best prepare for nationals in March coming this January on ice, from an on ice perspective. But I appreciate that. And that's the dilemma. I thought the weight room stuff I did was terrible and we won. I think it's great and we won. But what's happening there? It's the players and the coaches.
Yeah.
Got to have the best players and the best coaches to win. But thank you. I appreciate that. And like we said, all the recordings are available, sellfy.com/Corfist. If you attended, if you did not, they are all available for purchase. And then you may follow Chris at his school account, SKOOL. He has a link in his social media channels. Dan, where can they find a little bit more for your
Dan's
training
got
as
a
well?
Patreon. He's got a lot more followers than I have.
Yeah, get on our Patreon. What's neat about that is you can pick up anytime you want. You can go all the way back to the beginning. And if you're new to TFC stuff, hop on in the beginning, get your money's worth. I mean, I don't even think it's that much money, but it'll take you down all the rabbit holes you need to go down if you're really interested in it. And if you just want a couple answers about a few things, hop on there.
Very,
Patreon.
very helpful.
Yep.
Very helpful. All right. Well, hey, thank you for listening to this episode of the Fast Lane. Episodes are available anywhere you listen to podcasts. Please share this episode and don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a review. Reach out to us and you may message me on X or Instagram at Coach Chris Kerr if you have questions from this episode or ones you would like answered in future episodes. Thank you, and we will see you guys next time.
All right.
See you guys.
Appreciate it.